here we are, and tonight we're going to talk about itchy scalp.
Ooh.
Yeah, itchy scalp. It's serious. It's for real. There are two different, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Two different categories of itchy scalp that I find most common that are coming through the salon. One is psoriasis. Psoriasis.
Yeah, I know you want to say psoriasis
Because it's got that P right there.
The P is silent.
Okay, psoriasis, and the other is traction alopecia. And I think it's the two of them are so similar sometimes in the way that they feel and the way that they react that it can be very easy to mistake one for the other.
Really? So you think that traction alopecia and psoriasis?
A little bit. It kind of.
I mean, well, I've never had traction alopecia, but as a stylist, you've probably seen it. What does it look like to you?
It's patchy. It's kind of inflamed a little bit. People complain a lot about.
I always thought it just was bald.
No, it falls out in patches. Usually not right to the scalp, but so close to it that it looks like it's bald and you've left that area bald. Yeah. So I just kind of got a little bit of background on the two. So psoriasis. Psoriasis is a chronic autoimmune disease that causes raised reddish scaly patches on the skin and scalp. You can get psoriasis, or you can't get psoriasis from other people, so it's not contagious. It's not something that you can rub your head on and you get from somebody else. And they don't really know why it's caused, but they do know that if you have someone in your family that has it, you're more likely to develop it.
And this is true. This is how I got it, thanks of Mr. Robert Ford.
There you go.
Who has severe psoriasis. My brother also has it, and as do I. And there's evidence of that around my whole hairline, which will never be the same. I find it gets worse in the winter. It's really bad, and it's so weird because where it is and where it's damaged my scalp, it won't tan. Like if you've seen me in pictures, you'll see where I'm all tan, and then you'll see like this light ring around my hairline where the scalp has been damaged. I won't say the hair hasn't grown back. It has, but it's very, very fine.
Yeah, and that's what they say. A lot of times with that, it's hard to reverse the effects.
Yes.
Once it starts. Now, traction alopecia, again, another problem that causes hair loss, and this is a type of hair loss that's caused by repeated pulling. Repeated pulling on the hair. And that's what they're saying. It's when you are doing hair care styles such as braids, cornrows, weaves, tight ponytails, buns, and repeated use of roller sets. Roller sets, yeah. Because of and you know what? And when I first read that, I thought the same thing. Roller sets? How does that work? But with roller sets, you have to get that tension. Right. On the hair in order to pull it out nice and smooth in order to wrap it around that roller. Now I personally like the feeling of my hair braided. You know when it first gets braided so tight, you can almost feel every hair. It's uncomfortable.
I like it if it's not you braiding.
Yeah, it's tight, but it's like a good tightness. But I guess that's ridiculous. When you make you think about it in those terms, pulling on it would cause again braiding.
It does feel good.
But you can almost feel every individual hair being pulled out of your scalp. That can't be healthy.
No, I only feel like that when you braid my hair.
Sorry.
So I actually feel like my scalp is bleeding.
Yeah, and apparently that can cause traction alopecia.
Just like she is no longer to braid my hair.
But the funny thing is, I always wondered why, I don't know about anybody else who's been so lazy where it's like, okay, I just don't want to do anything with my hair, so let's end up in this top knot for 3 weeks.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm washing it. I'm putting it down. I'm washing it, curling it, picking it every day, but every day it's going back up. Every day. And by the end of that, I can feel it really itchy at the top of my head.
Yeah.
Traction alopecia beginning.
Oh, you see? You see
how that happens? Yeah. And I honestly couldn't figure that out.
I always thought it was because you had it in the constant bun. Maybe there wasn't enough air circulation getting to it or something. But you're right. After I can only do a top bun maybe 2 days, 3 days maximum. Before that, itch is just unbearable. And quite frankly, it gets painful. Because you got to pull it so tight and it looks great, but it gets painful. It's not something I could imagine doing that for.
Yeah.
Like
And again, you don't assume that something like a bun or a ponytail is going to cause you scalp damage and hair loss. But apparently that
So when
pulling,
that
that
middle's
tightness-
itching in there and you're sticking the comb up under
and
there.
and you're feeling that's your
That's-
cue to stop.
Oh, listen,
Yes.
ladies, take heed to that.
So another thing made me think in that respect is all the hair loss that we have when we take it out of braids. And we just assume, oh, that's the natural shedding that you would have if you were to comb your hair every day for the 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, you know what, I bought into that. And I thought, you know what, that makes sense. That makes sense. Until I was a little more educated and realized that shedding comes from the scalp. And it's caused naturally by the hair follicles pushing out the old hair follicles. So as that hair is being pushed out, that long hair, there's a short hair that's coming through and regrowing. So if you're getting shedding that is the length of your hair from root to end, then that is natural shedding.
Okay.
But if you're taking your hair out and you're seeing all this hair that's coming off in short bits, half strands, pieces of hair, that's not natural shedding. That's breakage.
Mm.
And I think too that is attributed to that tension, that pulling on the hair in those braids, which again can lead us to that itchy, because we've all been braided up. Well, at least I have. I've been braided up, and you got your cornrows in, but your scalp starts itching. Again, you can feel every hair that has been kind of braided up and put away and put aside, but this itchy scalp is always present in these tight hairdos. We all seen the weave pad. Again, your hair's braided up nice and bundled tightly underneath there, so why is it so itchy? And again, the more I read, the more I educate myself, the more just simple things like, oh, we create traction alopecia. I really can't dispute that anymore. Like I always thought it was something that just, it came with the seasons, or it came with, just adverse situations where we weren't paying attention. But we have really itchy scalps in the winter, and that's the first thing we do is tend to go to tighter styles.
I don't know. I like to wear my hair down in the winters like a hat.
It's nice and warm, but a lot of women like to weave it up in the winter
because it's cold.
because that's like a hat.
Yeah, it's like a hat.
You weave it up, you put some extra hair on your head, it's never getting cold. But we put all that stress underneath of our weaves by doing those tight horn rolls and pulling on each and every hair, not realizing that we're protecting our hair with these protective styles, as we say, but in actuality, are we?
Well, I know for myself, being someone who has psoriasis, any sort of weave, I've never really been a wig wearer, so I can't really say that, but anything like that, braids, weave, I used to, glue the tracks in, it made the psoriasis 20 times worse.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, it would flare up. I can't really recall actually seeing the hair loss, like, visually, but it was there, but it was always around my hairline. I didn't have like short patches or bald patches or anything in my head. What I had, and you've been in my head, what I had was massive dandruff. I remember when I used to date guys, I would always say, one thing you should know about me is I probably have the worst dandruff in the world, probably the grossest thing you've ever seen. Like, what?
She did.
Like, it was bad. And I tried everything from Nizoral to going to the doctors and getting prescribed shampoo, and the shampoo that they were prescribing me, which was medicated, that destroyed my hair. I remember I literally, a patch of my hair in the middle broke off right in the crown, and it was like this. Because it's alcohol based, these shampoos. And then they gave me a rinse to put in. Pretty much the same thing, snapped my hair right off. What I did find, and this was just me using my big brain, is Lamisil. Lamisil is a cream that you used to have to get prescribed, but now you can buy it over the counter. It is quite expensive, $30 for a little tube, but I figure it's an antifungal, and it's usually used for, any kind of skin irritation or anything like that. And that's not the doctor saying to me, hey, put this Lamisil on your scalp. This is me saying, I need something because it was terrible. This is me actually trying the Lamisil, and honestly, it's the only thing that's.
Now, is it itchy when it flares up, the psoriasis?
No. No, it's not. Sometimes it gets, like I said, around the hairline, and you'll actually see what it looks like is like actually like someone, like a tattoo, like the edges they're raised, and it looks like if I scratch it, they get raised, and you can actually see like a map. It's just right around the head, it'll get raised. It's more painful than anything if you scratch it, so I try to avoid that, but it never gets like crazy itchy where it's bloody or anything like that. But the hair, it was always the worst was around the hairline, always. And the Lamisil is the only thing that has controlled it, and I've been using the Lamisil for about 3 years.
Now, you've had psoriasis. That's something that you've had pretty much all your life.
Yeah, I just didn't know it was psoriasis until.
Did you find that it was worse when you were relaxing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't really say worse, just as bad.
Just as bad. Okay.
I find now that I've been natural that what really flares it up is if I don't wash my hair, and you know.
And and that's interesting that you say that, because the minute you said that the Lamisil was an antifungal, the first thing I was thinking is increasing your hair washes will obviously decrease the amount of fungus that is able to live and breed in your hair. So, as a woman of color who may not be washing their hair as often and they're experiencing these problems, one of the routines you would suggest is upping your shampoos, would you say?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Well, before I started coming to you, I wasn't washing my hair this is something that I've learned in the last year. I was under the impression, because my hair always grew. I never had a problem with my hair not growing, so I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. And after about the 3rd day, my head would itch so bad, and the dandruff got so bad, and then I was putting oil on it because I thought it was just dry scalp, and it was just it just got gross. It was really, really gross. But once I started coming to you, and I started washing my hair more, like I don't go more than 4 days maximum without washing my hair. It's controllable now. It's not so, like my husband used to say to me, you might want to put a hat on before you go outside, because you got huge flakes all through your head, like it's crazy, Sherry. It's like, oh God. But now it's controllable. Yeah, it gets noticeable sometimes, obviously, because I have black hair, but it's nothing.
And she means the color black, not
yes, I do mean the color
black people hair, the color black.
I was able to get away with it a little more when I had the streaks in my hair. My hair was lighter brown. They weren't so noticeable.
Yeah.
But absolutely, hands down, wash your hair. Wash your hair.
And the interesting thing about that is, like you said, most people, when their scalp starts doing that flaking and itching, you automatically go to creams and oils and try to moisturize it. But if it is a creation of fungus, you're just feeding it.
Exactly.
You're giving it a nice breeding ground to just run rampant in. So that's something that I think we really have to understand the difference. Like retraction alopecia, again, being caused, it's man-made. Psoriasis is something that is an autoimmune system. It's medical. So, you really want to make sure you are clear on which one of these issues you're suffering for before you go start self-diagnosing and doing
this is true,
things yourself.
because like I said, for well over 2 decades, I was almost 30 when my dad, I'm like, oh my, as my dad got older, he required more care, and I'm looking at his hair like, oh my goodness, you got the worst dandruff I've ever seen. That's where I got it from. And you don't get dandruff from somebody. Like dandruff isn't hereditary. And then as I got older, it got worse. So I was about 30 years old when the doctor said, it's not dandruff, Sherry, it's psoriasis. Oh, okay, so what do we do? And that's when they don't understand, I'm a black woman, I can't use these shampoos they were giving me and these rinses, and they burned. Like it was like putting acid on my head. Yeah, I tried the apple cider vinegar, the tea tree, everything under the sun, and it was the Lamisil. Now bear in mind, I don't put the Lamisil on. It's not something you have to do every day. When I wash my hair, I'll do, back in the day you used to grease your scalp.
Yeah.
When I wash it, I will, if I'm blow drying, whatever style I'm going to wear, I will, even when it's wet, I will part it like I'm oiling my scalp, and I will
apply it directly to your
apply
scalp.
it and, rub it in, give it a good rub in, and I won't need to do, as long as I do that twice, I'm good.
Like twice a month, twice
No,
a
no,
week?
no, twice, at least twice a week. Because
Okay.
I'm washing my hair every,
Yeah.
4 days maximum. So that seems to control it. Like, obviously the first day, the wash day, I'll put it on after I'm done washing. And then the next day, to make sure I solidify it and it stays there, I will do it again the next day. The only thing is if I flat iron my hair or I straighten it, then the thing is because it's
Kinda,
a cream.
it's burning onto the hair.
Well, not only that, it just it messes up your flat iron, right? Because the it's cream, right? It wets your roots and they frizz back up, being natural. So that's the only
Okay.
thing. So yeah, you gotta be. But other than that, and I'm not saying run out and buy Lamisil because it might not work for you. To me, Lamisil is the wonder cream. You know what I mean? It might not work for you. Go see your doctor, and as Ms. Angel said, get properly diagnosed.
Yeah, that's very important because with traction alopecia, sorry, that's something that we're creating. So if you're falling into the category where you're doing a lot of tight styling,
Yes.
braid ups and have you, and you're constantly coming in and out of this place where, oh my God, why am my scalp's itching? Why am I losing patches of hair? Why am I balding? What am I doing wrong? Then it might be something that you're doing repeatedly that isn't good for your hair. As Black women, I know it's very hard for us to give up our braids. We love our braids. But I think we're going to have to find a middle ground where we're going to have to loosen up on the braid. You know what I mean? We don't need to get every tiny little baby hair up in there. Maybe we don't need to have people like me who have too much tension in their hands braiding your hair. And that's one of the reasons why, honestly, in the salon, I have a braider come in.
Yeah.
Because I do know that braiding is one of those things for me that I just do far too tightly. And it's not on purpose. It's just the way my hands work. It's not on purpose.
I think it's.
But so I like to bring people in who are able to give that same look and that same style without having to apply so much tension and make people feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to pay to get beat up. So, yeah. But with that being said, yeah, I think if we really think about what our hair habits are and if this is something that we've always kind of had, like Miss Sherry here, who's had the dandruff her entire life and couldn't figure out what it was, then maybe we need to go to the doctors and get that tested. Is it possible that I have psoriasis of the scalp? Can you test this for me? What can I do to combat this? And if that is the case as a Black woman, you might want to take heed to what Ms. Sherry just said about some of those products that the medical professionals will offer you, and maybe have that conversation with them and let them know, like, look, at my hair texture is different.
Yeah.
Is there something alternative that we can use? Is there another way that I can apply this without damaging and ruining all my hair? Can I add an oil to this so that I can soften my hair back up? Like, I'm not saying they'll have all the answers, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes, and another thing that I did learn, I don't know if you're familiar with, but a lot of people who have psoriasis of the skin, a lot of them are prescribed sunlight, the sun lamps. And I remember me telling you, anytime I've ever gone away to like Mexico or
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
I would always get the corn rolls and not one flake. The whole week I was there, no itching, no flaking.
So your scalp was just absorbing all that sun.
Yeah, so I had, and you can actually feel, you know what I mean? Because when you get those corn rolls and they're fresh and you go outside and that wind blows,
That's
you
what
get,
I'm saying.
you get like
I love
a little
it.
tickle because you can feel the wind on your scalp.
Damn you, traction alopecia.
So even like, it may be even, a sun lamp. It'll be hard to get to the scalp if it's not like corn rolled or something like that. But I did notice that when I was away, not one flake, no itch.
And you know what? Honestly, I do feel, even with the traction alopecia, it really seems to be a little more concentrated in some of the areas that experience more cold than areas where you're living in the heat all year round.
Right.
I find that a lot of women get really itchy as the weather cools down, as we're spending more time in the house, as we're we're in the artificial heat.
Yeah.
We have the hats on our, like, we just, not only we're doing these styles that are pulling on the hair, but we're also doing a lot of things that are drying our hair out because it just happens to be wintertime and this is what we have to do to kind of survive. So being mindful about little things like the hats that we put on our head. Are they silk or satin lined?
Right.
Because if we're putting that wool hat on, as cute as that little puff is and all that good shit, it will suck the life out of your hair. You're gonna get up in the morning feeling great. Your hair's gonna look great. You're gonna put that on a half hour later. Your hair's gonna feel like a haystack.
Literally a half an hour.
Yeah. So
it will literally suck.
And you're gonna think, oh my gosh, what is it? Like it's the weather. It's unfortunate. We just have to play by a little bit different rules when it comes to colder climates. And just be a little bit more mindful. I always say, you want to wear that hat, go buy some silk and sew it in the lining. It doesn't take much to do.
Yeah, you don't have to be a seamstress.
Yeah.
Really, a couple
If you ladies call me. I will sew some in there for you, and you can buy them on Hair High Podcast $39.95. Right to your door. But no, seriously, just something as simple as being careful about what we're putting on our head in the winter will help reduce that itchy scalp.
And I think with the traction, what is it?
Traction alopecia. Yeah.
Traction alopecia. I think another good indication that you may have that opposed to psoriasis is hair loss.
Yes.
Like I myself, like I said previously, I didn't have any actual bald spots in my head. Like I noticed thinning hair but no actual bald spots throughout my head. Whereas I've seen the traction alopecia, and these women actually have
bald spots. I've lived through it 3 times. 3 times to the point where I started going to the doctors getting medically tested because I thought something was wrong with me. My husband was scared I had cancer or something. 3 times right at the top of my head, my hair dropped out, scalp bald.
Really?
3 times in the middle of my head. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what the hell I was doing. This happened to be a time where I was wearing more weaves than I ever worn in my life. And I was still relaxing.
Oh.
So I was doing a lot of tension on my hair. I was relaxing my hair, which is compromising the cuticle as it is. And the only way I was able to come out of that and not return to that was moving to, again, something like you did, an antifungal shampoo. Because I figured something was there. I knew something was there because my scalp was just too itchy for something not to be there, and it was all concentrated in this one spot. And what would happen is, literally, I have a 3-day window from the time it would start to the time my hair would drop out.
Really?
Yep. I would wake up one day and my head would be so itchy right there. Itchy. And I'm scratching, can't figure out why. Day 2, it would feel so tight, like a fist.
Because you scratch it and you scalp.
And not only that, my scalp is starting to contract.
Yes.
It's like every inch of moisture that was there is now gone. And I could immediately feel that hair texture just in that one area change. It was no longer soft and smooth like the rest of my hair. Immediately it was dry and brittle. Day 3, I get up, gone.
Wow.
All on my pillow. So I had to start being mindful of what I was doing. The first thing I did was I was mindful to catch it. I stopped ignoring the itch. As soon as it started itching, I run and I go shampoo with a clarifying shampoo. And a clarifying shampoo, unlike regular shampoos, is meant to clean the scalp. And a lot of times we don't understand that shampoo that we're buying over the counter is meant to clean hair. It doesn't clean the scalp. And we come from a culture that constantly applies product to our scalp. I've never been cleaning my scalp. So on my scalp, I now have sediment from relaxers. I have sediment from hair oils and from the environment and other issues. So the minute my scalp got any type of fungus, it had all of this stuff to breed off of, and boom, within 3 days it was gone. And the only thing I could do to stop it was to immediately start washing my hair with a clarifying shampoo, and I'd have to do that every day for a week.
And that would stop it.
And that, what it would do is it wouldn't stop it cold in its tracks. I could feel it lessen every day. So I got to the point where I just started incorporating clarifying shampoo into my washes.
Well, they say you should do it at least once a month.
And I was doing it once a month. I haven't had to use clarifying shampoo in years since I decided that I was going to stop washing my hair once a week and start washing my hair minimum 2 to 3 times a week. My scalp is constantly free and clear of debris, so it doesn't have a chance to breed that fungus anymore. It doesn't have the chance for those oils. I do not put oil on my scalp, which is something I would do all the time. Oil my scalp, get the oil drops, put them on my scalp. It's breeding fungus. Oil is a treatment. It's not a styling product. So just by retraining my thought process and how I was approaching my hair, It's been 10 years. I've never had it happen again.
There's some food for thought.
Yeah. So, take the time, really be honest with yourself, figure out where it is you might live in these two situations if you're experiencing any of these problems. And, hopefully get diagnosed properly.
You get that itch, ladies, wash your hair. So it's safe to say that you get that intense itch, that could be your first indication that something's wrong. Wash your hair.
Wash your hair.
Wash your hair.
Wash your hair.